After 25 years, Ash Ketchum has officially become the Pokemon World Champion, defeating many of the strongest trainers to ever appear on the anime, including Leon. This story has captivated millions of people for decades, and the thrilling victory has sparked worldwide celebration. I'm a Pokemon fan, my family is full of Pokemon fans, and it feels like a victory for us as much as the young boy from Pallet Town. Many have literally waited their entire lives for this milestone. However, the result of the battle brings the anime and the Pokemon community at a crossroads. Ash is not just a regional and world champion. He is a fully explored, rounded, and complete character. We've been there for his highs, his lows, and his downright ugly moments. He's tackled adversity again and again and again, constantly tested, constantly revealed in front of us. We've also come to know nearly the entire supporting cast from every region. The only truly unexplored aspect of Ash's story is the romantic arc, and that omission was done on purpose. I mean, come on, he's 10. With that, we have finally come to the big question. Ash has traveled all over his known world, and he sits at the top of the mountain. What now?
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause.
Before we get in too deep, I want to first say thanks for checking out the video. A lot of times I do these with little to no preparation, just an idea. This one's a little different. If you like this format, it would mean a lot to me if you leave a like, subscribe, and share a comment. Even if you don't, I truly appreciate you for taking the time to watch this video. I won't do a recap of the entire Pokemon series because that would be derivative. There are a number of PokeTubers who have done a much better job than I can do at this point. Charge Sharu, the Lumiose trainers, the Anti-PokeTubers, and many more have been covering Pokemon for years, and I've been a fan the whole time, but I'm more of a Johnny-come-lately. If you want more of the history, I recommend you check them out first. We're here to talk about the future. Now, I'm not at all associated with the Pokemon Company International or Game Freak or the Pokemon anime. I am merely a fan speculating about the television future of the most popular franchise in history. Take anything I say here with a grain of salt. In my opinion, there are 4 logical paths TPCI can go with Ash's character, and I have special names for them. The Golden Sunset, the Love of the Game, the True Reset, and the Next Mountain. They're all directly related to the question we've been asking ever since the anime came out. What is a Pokemon Master? Ash has never adequately defined what this is, and even early in Pokemon Journeys, he stated that becoming number 1 would simply be another step. That brings us to theory number 1, the Golden Sunset. There is the uncomfortable possibility that Ash has actually completed his goal. It could be winning the World Championship really does show that he is a Pokemon Master. It could also be that the people who have worked tirelessly on the anime feel it's time for the story to end. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like this one, and most Pokemon fans out there won't like it either. But it makes sense. Ash went all over the world this season, challenging a number of powerful trainers, defeating champions along the way. The end is a very plausible scenario, and we would just have to deal with it. We have seen so many stories overstay their welcome, eventually tainting the entire narrative simply because they don't know when to put the period at the end, so to speak. I mean, you can probably think of one of those right now off the top of your head. And this series is in danger of doing that as well, and it would be tragic for such a beloved IP. 25 years is a long time, and there's not much of a way to sustain a narrative over that period without inevitably. Think back to your favorite athlete. Could be Michael Jordan or LeBron James, Tom Brady, Muhammad Ali, Alex Rodriguez, Usain Bolt. I could go on for hours. In the sports world, we have a recurring history of stars that reach the top and continue competing afterwards. Many times those athletes are motivated by money, and their success is directly tied to preserving their resources. This is not the case with Ash. He's technically not an adult and can always go home if he needs food or shelter. That, or he can count on the circle of friends he's made over the years. The other motivation with famous athletes is what many call the love of the game. Take Tom Brady this season. Not getting into his personal details, but he returned to football because he loved doing it. Michael Jordan kept playing after his first championship because, among other things, he loved the game. This is something that could translate very easily for Ash Ketchum, but it comes with some notable obstacles. If we're talking from a narrative standpoint, there really aren't any more mountains for Ash to climb. He is officially the target everyone will chase in the next generation. If he continued battling and training, it would simply be because he loves doing it. That's not a bad thing. As we've seen in real life, him doing something for the love of it will not break our suspension of reality. The issue that would come from this is a drastic reduction of tension. Ash is the strongest trainer in the world. Pikachu is arguably the top mouse in the Pokemon kingdom. The underdog story doesn't exist anymore. If it's not a box art legendary, Ash can probably take it. And some of those legendary mons he could take too. There is a distinct advantage that this direction can give viewers though. The love of the game narrative can be done for Ash on a micro and macro level, narratively, and the former would be easier to execute. We could just get scenes of Ash battling, and that would probably be enough for a lot of us. The nice thing about sports and battling is that tension and narrative can occur organically. Will Ash win or lose? Will Pikachu overcome getting hit with a Z move? Who's gonna Gigantamax? Who's gonna Terrasilize? You don't really have to go that far for that one. The micro-narrative can serve as a change of pace from option number 3 while keeping us quote-unquote old viewers invested in Ashy Boy. I think the true reset theory has the most potential, and it's nice because it's straightforward. Ash leaves the anime or has a drastically diminished role, and we get introduced to a newer character in a new dream. It doesn't necessarily have to be brand new either. Go is still relatively young in his character arc, even if they rushed a few things in Pokemon Journeys. We could explore more of his story with his family, or his adventure at Sharice Labs, or the growing one with Gary Oak in Tokyo. Right now, with the titles of the episode, there is a possibility that they're referring to Go's narrative arc and his chase for Mew, and we could be saying goodbye to Go and not Ash. I mean, his dream fluctuated from catching Mew to catching one of every single Pokemon leading up to it. I honestly don't think catching alone would be enough to sustain the story of the franchise, but I think it added a much needed element. I was genuinely happy for a co-protagonist to have his own set of goals and dreams, and that they were different enough to be distinguishable from Ash. I mean, it would have to adjust. The stakes would need to be raised in order to keep viewers interested. But that's assuming that we aren't seeing the end of Go right now. You know, we also could float the idea of Jesse, James, and Meowth as the new protagonists of the series. No? Okay. The alternative in this scenario would be a brand new character. New goals, new narrative arc, new villains, new everything. It would breathe life into the series, and even the regurgitated narratives would be far more forgivable, even if there weren't any new goals per se. If it was somebody who was wanting to become the champion of the Paldea region, for instance. Honestly, a mixture of Ash still being in the story and a new protagonist would be what I prefer. I want to see something new, but if I'm being honest, I can't imagine this anime without Ash. I just can't. But there is another theory that fully involves Ash, and I decided to save it for last because I'm the least confident in it. Ash could potentially decide to follow another path. He could join Go in the Project Mew initiative or some other adjacent Spec Ops group. He could become a Pokemon professor like Oak, he could become a doctor like Brock, or a gym leader like Misty. But to be honest, it's really hard to imagine a new ultimate goal for Ash Ketchum because, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we've seen almost everything there is to see about him. He's battled against legendaries, stopped world-ending catastrophes, he's traveled to alternate dimensions, jumped back and forth through time. He's gone through so much, so a new goal doesn't feel right. He's engraved his identity as a battler, and all the other things he could possibly do have been touched by that fire to battle. Going back to the logic behind theory number 2, let's talk about Michael Jordan again. When he stopped playing basketball and joined the MLB, nobody looked at him and said, "Oh, he's a baseball player now." They all looked at MJ and saw him as a basketball player playing baseball. That's the parallel to how I see Ash. He might be one of the most typecasted characters in fictional history, and that's saying a lot. If they were able to somehow overcome that large of a narrative obstacle, it could actually work really well. Sometimes the best way to rejuvenate a character is by simply giving them a new goal, and Ash would be fantastic at any of those things that I mentioned. He's proven he's cared deeply for Pokemon and people, and even though I can't imagine him doing anything but battling and befriending Pokemon, there isn't any world-based occupation that he wouldn't excel at, barring being Team Rocket, of course. It's both plausible and impossible for him to have a new goal. No matter what happens next with Pokemon, be it the end or not, there's no denying the fact that 11/11/22 marks the end of an era with Pokemon. And I want to say thank you to those who worked so hard to give us this story. You animators, you storytellers have done such an amazing job over the years, weaving the story of a boy with a never-ending dream. The brains, the hands, and the hearts have left a world-changing legacy. And we just eagerly wait for what comes next.